Hey everybody, it's Dick here with James Page, the founder of the Despatch Rally. James is also I don't know, are you the founder or one of the integral parts of Superior Motorcycle Experiences as well?
Well, I'm not the founder. I think I was just a cog.
I think an important cog in the wheels of the Superior Motorcycle Experience. But we're here today to talk about the Dispatch Rally. I went to the Dispatch Rally for the first time in 2018, and I had an absolute ball. And I made a couple videos about it, and everyone I met who rides a motorcycle I told about. And I immediately signed up for the 2019 Dispatch Rally. And as everyone knows of what happened with 2019, along with everything else, the Dispatch Rally was canceled. And sorry, there's my dog Waffle. He's coming to say hi. If those of us who really didn't want to miss it, we kept our entries. I think a lot of us kept our entries so that we would have a space for when they rolled around again. And I just saw, I think it was on Instagram, that you said that the 2021 Dispatch Rally is going to go ahead. And at the time it's going to go ahead in some form or another. And now with the news of the rolling out of lockdown easing and ultimately the end of lockdown, we have new news about the Dispatch Rally. So I decided to have James on tonight to kind of talk us through what the Dispatch Rally is, tell us what the new dates are and what he has in store, and just kind of talk about how awesome the Dispatch Rally is. So James, what I did it in 2018, but when did the Dispatch Rally? Well, first of all, maybe I should, because I have some people who are probably watching from America, and I didn't know what a dispatch rider was. So maybe we should start with a little context of what.
Okay, well, I kind of.
Okay, put you on the spot.
That's fine. I guess I'm not your number one kind of.
I don't need a history lesson. I'm just thinking,
For me, when I was working with the DGR, I was working with events of my own and running quite a lot of local community stuff under the guise of Past Tracks, which is the Instagram account and stuff that I still run personally for me. And I've been chatting a long time with my girlfriend about I wanted to do an event that I had kind of concepted, and I had these plans and ideas and some sort of challenges that I thought would be fun, and what would I want to do with my motorcycle of a weekend if the opportunity was there. And I came up with a reconnaissance challenge. I came up with an off-road sort of entry-level thing that I thought would be really fun and accessible, and I thought like a gymkhana style control course or something might be fun. And I was trying to work out how I could string these ideas together. I'd been to things like the DGR and Goodwood Revival and, the Hot Rod Hayride, and events that had a real core kind of look to them, and people wore an outfit and committed to the overall feel of the event, and therefore it gave you this immersive experience. And I wanted the event to have that edge as well. And I was flicking around thinking, okay, it needs to be motorbike fueled. This needs to be about biking. It needs to be about heritage. It needs to come from somewhere. There needs to be a reason behind it. And then I was sort of researching calf racer history and the things people talk about, how, the military riders came back from World War II. There were a lot of surplus bikes around. They understood how to work on them. They enjoyed riding them. And then they started to try and build them to beat one another and race around town and look cool and be different. And I thought, okay, here's the meat around the bone, like this is where to get going with things. This is going to give me an opportunity to link everything together. So the dispatch riders, for all intents and purposes, got military messages around, got military correspondence from place to place, and did it in a kind of covert manner, and had to maybe get something of key importance from point A to point B, but not get caught doing it, maybe even not get seen doing it. And therefore they would need to be able to navigate phenomenally well. It was long before GPS or anything like that. They need to be able to ride cross country. They need to be able to handle all sorts of terrain, light, dark, they need to be a really like high-end motorcyclist in order to do their job to the best of their ability. I thought, here's my context, motorcycle control, off-road riding, navigational skill. And then once that became the idea behind the concept, it was like, okay, well, we can throw shooting into the mix, we can throw military uniforms into the mix, we can throw various other things that kind of hark back to that same theme and tie in on the military wavelength, but give us a nice, authentic motorcycle day, or what has now become a weekend, which seems to tie together across a common theme.
So you mentioned a lot of the elements of the Despatch Rally and kind of the theme, and just to give some context to the listeners and the viewers, it's a day. It's now 2 days, but it's a day where you get up, dressed up 3 days now.
Yeah,
I guess it was 3 days.
Yeah,
three days. So we get dressed up in military garb, riding military-themed bikes or surplus bikes if you can, or you do up your bike in a way. I remember the guy who won on the year I was there had a nearly brand new Street Twin or something, and he had wrapped it in green and camo, and it wasn't an old bike by any respect, but he had made the effort to immerse. You made the word immersive. Immerse himself in the theme and the event, and then we go around doing various challenges as well as navigation over the course of the time. And like you said, there's a shooting element, there's an off-road element, there's some trials, and we can get into the details of what each of those are. But when was the first year you actually managed to put one together?
So it was our third year when you came. So it was
all right.
2020 we missed, 2019, 2018. So 2017, I think, would have been year one. That would have been when we got. So
I did 2018. So if that was the third year, you would have started 2016.
Okay, yeah.
We've all lost a year, so I can forgive you for that. But yeah. So and in the first year, just the single day, it was just the foam box rally, and
it was a complete sort of, is this going to work? Is it going to be well received? Who's going to attend? So I pulled on a whole bunch of strings. I have to, go with a massive thank you to my support crew, which is always friends, family, nearest and dearest, people just opening up and coming and making sure that we all had a great time. And yeah, we put the event down, we figured out how we thought we wanted it to look, and it was 9 o'clock start, I think, and hopefully everything would be done and dusted by 5. And we just went with it, gave it a good go. I tried my hardest to run around and do photography during the day at the same time as trying to be in the right place and manage the team and manage the riders and manage expectations. And yeah, it's been a sort of spiral ever since, I think. Year one was really well attended by what I would call like the reenactment kind of.
Okay.
A lot of people with like hardcore uniforms, the real bikes.
Okay.
Historically correct stuff.
Yeah.
I think the kind of modern take on it and the sheer mileage that the event undertakes and the time spent on the bikes perhaps didn't lend itself well to that crowd. We still see quite a good number of like probably World War II machines that come and do compete and do complete the event, but in the subsequent years it became more, like you say, a lot more people who find the spirit of the event in decorating their bike, decorating themselves, and getting into the sort of immersion of the theme rather than straight up, people having the correct and perfect period machines and so on.
So the you mentioned the mileage and the people who were like a reenactment. I remember I don't have a lot of military costuming, and I showed up in kind of more of a British hunter farmer, like high-end farmer outfit, and I got kind of nabbed on it, saying, you're supposed to be dressed up in military stuff, but it was only one or two people who had mentioned that, and it was I kind of felt like even someone who wasn't completely immersed in the costuming and riding a period bike would be I didn't feel like an outsider. I didn't feel like I didn't belong, and I think that was one of the things that really drew me to the event because, like you mentioned, the DGR, and I've participated in a lot of the DGRs, but they're very strict about the kind of bike you ride. They're very strict about the kind of clothes you ride, and there's a lot of lip service. I have never actually seen anyone turned away, but there's a lot of lip service about turning people away on the day if you're not kind of in line with the theme and the dress code and the type of bike you're riding. And I didn't feel like that was an issue with the Dispatch Rally.
Well, as I say, I took part in that DGR side of things and managed DGRs for a good few years before we gave this a go. And I listened to feedback from people that came on it, people that took part, and I also had my own experience of it, which is I've got a beautiful bike that rides fantastic and I love to go out on it, but I would never choose to ride through the centre of town on a busy Sunday because all of what your bike is capable of is underachieved.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bikes I ride are old-fashioned and air-cooled, and they don't much enjoy that setting.
Sitting in traffic, yeah.
And the same applies for a lot of people on the DGR. And not to take anything away from it, fantastic event. Really
Absolutely.
Yeah, does so much for such a great cause. But I thought, we will ride, we will live in a beautiful part of the world. What can we do that flips that and gives us what we want from our machines and gives us time in the saddle? And therefore, we put it together the way that we did. And what you're saying is bang on. Like that photograph that you're bringing up covers it perfectly. You've got a Rickman Matisse 80s XL Honda and a BMW Tourer and a Harley Sportster. Like, we wanted it to be an event that it didn't matter who you were or how you ride or even what you ride. We've had learner legal L-plate riders come and take part. We wanted it to be completely inclusive. We wanted everyone to feel that they could take part. And yes, there's a heavy military theme. And what you'll find, and I'm sure you'll probably kind of agree with me here, yes, you come the first year and maybe you don't understand about, costume and props and decorating your bike. But once you realise that there's 40, 50 points on the table, if you do that, you're not going to do the same thing next year. You're down the army surplus for a green T-shirt.
Well, what's really funny you say that. I came on the Saturday on my Royal Enfield Squadron Blue with a rifle scabbard and I was riding the right bike for the points. Yeah. And I had left late the next day with Fanny, and we're not going to make it in time on the back of the Royal Enfield. And so we hopped on the GS, and the whole day I'm kicking myself because I lost out on the points for riding the stupid GS. I mean, it got me there, and it was comfortable riding around because we did a lot of miles that day, and definitely the off-road section was a breeze on it. But it was like that was a big gap in the passport. Like it's ridiculous. I still have the little booklet, but I'm kicking myself for that gap. So I'm definitely riding on the Enfield this year. I don't care how long it takes to get down there.
Touching on what you said there, that seems pretty key. How did you find the off-road section on your GS?
Well, it's funny. I was psyching myself out for off-road.
Yeah.
It's a nice country lane. It's a gravel road, and there's a nice little climb to it. And I think we made a wrong turn, and the climb was a bit more interesting because we missed the turn. But it was fun because you felt the kind of dirt go under you, but it wasn't anything that was so challenging that it would have put off a rider, like you said, on a learner L-plate or someone who's riding a Sportster, or another type of bike that isn't conducive to riding off-road. So it's good that, and you think about off-roading and the history of the Dispatch rider, they had to do some cross-country stuff, but a lot of the time they're going on country lanes and back lanes and over farm tracks and stuff. So I think it was appropriate to the event, and the skill level was appropriate too. I mean, it was nothing like the stuff you brought us on for the SME day, but but I kind of in my head thought it was going to be like that. Like, oh, we're going to do a river crossing. We're gonna have to ford on this
Well, this is it. That's why I kind of asked the question, because we get a lot of people go, "Oh, I'm coming down and I'm riding a Ducati Monster or whatever they're going to bring," and they're like, "I'm concerned about the off-road. Will I be able to do it? Won't I be able to do it?" And the format we always created is that you can pick and choose the challenges. They're all voluntary. No one has to do anything. No one's forcing anybody to do anything. You can jump in and out depending on how you feel about any given stage. But we wanted everyone to be able to achieve it and then go home with that feeling of, wow, I did that today. And it's nice to hear you say that that's how you felt about it. Like, never really imagined that I was trying to use easy lanes that would potentially replicate the ones or the condition of the roads, perhaps, back in, World War II type time period. But to be fair, you're probably right. That might well have been 90% of the UK roads back then. So
yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking. It's we call a lot of these things green lanes, but a lot of the byways we ride on in the UK they're just roads at one point. Before tarmac made it all the way around. I think Jonathan asked the question that you just answered. It's like, do the riders compete in all the challenges? Can they pick and choose? And I think they can pick and choose, but the more you do, the more points you earn. So it goes to his next question about who usually won in the past, the better rider, the better shooter. I think if I don't know if he's watching right now over his dinner, but it's Ian Fitzgerald who's won at least two of them, I think, right?
Ian Fitzgerald, independent in the solo class, has won 2 out of the 3 events, and that's solely because year 1.
Just trying to find a picture of Ian.
Blew his wheel bearings up. So, in fact, the picture you've got is probably the exact opportunity. If you find it, he went through the off-road stage so fast.
I think. Excuse me, everyone, for scrolling through so quickly, but I'm looking for a particular picture of Ian. I think it's this. Nope, one more.
Right, I know I sent it.
It's here.
There it is.
There he is.
So he blew the wheel bearings up at the speed he went through the off-road stage. He was the first one to get there, and my parents were sitting at the end, stamping people's logbooks and making sure people got their reference points for attending the stage, and they hit on the van as he came towards the finish line because they didn't think he was going to stop. I was on my way to the off-road stage sort of 25-30 minutes after riders had left the start-finish venue, and I was going to take photos, and he was already man down. He'd gone straight there, straight through, and totaled his bike and was waiting for the RAC at the side of the road.
And this is the Despatch Tracker. This is his VFR bike that he's made into a bit of a scrambler. I did a video on this bike, and if it was as loud or anywhere near as loud as when I rode it, I could imagine why your parents were scared, because this thing sounds like a dragon coming out of the sky. It's like coming down to the town of Dale and just like gonna just blow fire all over it.
But Ian always says like this event was made for him, and it's quite funny because I knew Ian's bike a long time before I met Ian.
I did too. Yeah, I did too.
I'd seen it on Dirtquake footage, and I would always go over and look at it. And I remember as clear as day, year 1, me and Sarah were at Pool Key. We were doing like a bit of flyering, trying to get some cards out and get some people to know about. And I went, there it is. And I ran over and I slid a card into the seat of his bike. And I was like, if that guy doesn't come to the event, no one's coming to the event. And sure enough, he depicts a very important part of what I would call the event audience. If you look at what he's riding in, it's not World War II kind of period correct, like military reenactment. Yeah. He's got an army green lid. He's got some camo from the local army surplus, and his bike is brand new for all intents and purposes.
Yeah,
it's army green and it's themed, and every element of that benefits in points for the day. He's dressed correctly. His bike's themed correctly. Yeah. but it's not a case of anything that's unobtainable. As you said yourself, people.
And there's very little level of scrutiny. It's not like there's like a scrutinizing phase where people go around ticking it off. It's you go up to the table with your passport. This is my bike. This is what I'm wearing. Tick or no tick. And there's no. You're not penalized in any way. You just don't get the benefit of the extra points, and that comes and so that I think has a big. It's inclusive. It's more about, every effort you make is acknowledged and awarded. But if you don't or can't, you can still participate, and it's still a great event. And I think is the key to it being such a good event, because there are so many events that I've been to on my bike where I'm at the edge and I feel left out, and whether it's because of means or whether because I wasn't informed or whether I just wasn't prepared, there's been situations where I felt like, man, I don't really feel engaged in this event, and I was on a GS in high vis yellow on the Sunday doing the post boxes, and I had an orange flamed helmet on, and it was, and the farthest thing from the theme, but I had a blast. And every time we stopped at a phone booth and we saw someone else there, they welcomed you, they encouraged you, they joked around with you. It's just been like it's a fantastic event. I think it's that there's a guy in an Enfield.
Yeah, well, there's another way of looking at it. So, he's got a kind of Lawrence of Arabia style scarf on, and he's gone for the whole sand camo-ish look. Had a camouflage t-shirt on underneath, but went to the effort of picking through his wardrobe to get as close to the theme as he could without I'm going down the surplus shop to actually deck myself out. And he received some points. He maybe didn't receive, the top level, and he most certainly didn't receive the bottom level. But that's kind of why we did it, how we did it. We spent a lot of time thinking about the score system and how if you come on a 1940s World War II motorcycle, how is it fair that you're competing against someone on a Honda VFR and you've got to do all these miles? So the guy with the authentic military machine receives X amount of points straight off the bat. The guy with the army-themed VFR receives slightly less points. So he's got the advantage once he's covering ground out doing the reconnaissance, but they've already got an advantage points-wise because
they got that thing running.
It's all kind of, if you're into dressing up, there's a part of the day that you can maybe be the best at. If you're into shooting, you can maybe be the best at that. If you're great at off-road or really good at reading a map, somewhere within the event is part of the concept that benefits your particular skill set. And if it's just enjoying riding and being around people, then it's a motorbike event, same as every other. You're happy to see two-wheeled enthusiasts coming towards you and sharing in the same idea.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. One of the questions we got is, or one of the comments we got is also from Jonathan. He said, "This would be great in the U.S. with all the Second Amendment supporters." I think what we have, I think what we have to do is maybe give some. I think Jonathan and maybe some other people are thinking, because we mentioned shooting a couple of times. This isn't like a biathlon where you're riding a bike and then shooting from the saddle or whatever. There's a number of different challenges, if you will. So maybe let's break it down and how the 3 days are set up so that people can get an idea of how the event goes. So Friday night or Friday afternoon.
People can arrive on the Friday. Really, event programming starts from Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. But Friday evening, some stuff will go on, and we'll talk to some people. We'll probably come up with some games on two-wheeled stuff that we can do on site to kind of keep people awake and interested. And then we treat Saturday sort of like a training day. So still, there's a bunch of challenges and games with a very sort of heavy military theme in amongst it. Some sort of target practice with small, pellet rifles. We've done some trials skills with the local trials club. They've been really great in supporting us a couple of 2 or 3 years now in a row. And then we'll do some control-based stuff for people that have never been on a motorcycle on grass. We did a bit of manual handling the year you came, I think.
Yep.
And basically, Saturday is more about giving people some fun and enjoyment, but also allowing them to get to know their fellow man, and enjoy each other's company. Because when it was a single-day event, and I had concepted this together to be as much riding and as much time in the saddle as possible, the feedback that we received were people were a bit disappointed they never got to meet one another and enjoy each other's bikes and enjoy each other's stories and kind of socialize. So Saturday was designed to bring about some of the skills and thinking required for the main event, but without kind of dragging everybody away from one another. And hopefully, I say hopefully, we've moved the dates now to the final bank holiday in May, which, if everything goes to plan, should give us total freedom and allow for us to do like a mass ride out on the Saturday together, like not DGR, but that sort of thing, some really nice roads with everybody you're at the event with, hopefully finish somewhere picturesque, and then head back to base camp for, food and barbecues and bedtime, whatever. We're looking to try and achieve a movie showing this year. We'd like to get The Great Escape on and just bring everyone home to this is part of why we are. We all wish we were Steve McQueen, and tomorrow we're all going to don our army uniforms and burn around enjoying ourselves. So yeah,
I wonder if we could recreate a mini jump.
Yeah. I'll just lay some barbed wire.
Just little like barbed wire. We all can just go off a plank.
Over we go. Yeah, that's it.
We could do it on the Grom. It could be the end of the Grom feature.
Yeah, we'll figure something. I'm sure Adi will be great for that. And you're touching on, there's another partner that the event couldn't happen without. So Adi Scammell, the guy with the Grom from the year you came, is a local rider training company, Fat Boy Rider Training here in Southampton. And basically, when I approached him, I said, look, I want to do this gymkhana similar to the kind of rider control training you would do before you did your full test.
Yeah.
And, he therefore brings that true kind of, he knows what's a skill. He understands the spacing. He's got the bikes, the Honda Groms and things that he brings. And he's got a really great way with people. He brings something special to it and makes sure that, yes, you're doing a control stage, but he'll give you the right pointers at the beginning, and he'll choose just the right obstacles that you think you've got it sussed, and there's always going to be something kind of drags you back to your roots a bit, Yeah,
and I liked at the end what did we had? Oh, here's the Groms.
There we go, Honda Grom. Here's the man himself in the orange. Yeah, that's Aiden.
Yeah, they were messing around. He was trying.
Yeah, he couldn't work out where the bike wouldn't go.
Yeah, he's like, "Why won't the bike go?"
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, so I think he also, there was another element with control right when you finished that you could get a couple of extra points if you did this kind of mod 1.
Yes.
Very slow feature, so you did it on the Grom in the field on the Saturday, but then on Sunday when you arrived back at the headquarters at the finishing point, you could go through another element of control.
Yes.
And get a couple of extra points that maybe if you didn't get as far as you could have to get one of the phone booths. So Saturday we did the control course on the Grom. We did some of the stuff on the Himalayas with handling control. We did a grenade toss, which was kind of fun.
Yep.
I spent a lot of time with the grenade toss because I wanted to get in that stupid tire. And then the pellet guns. I thought the people who did the trial, like you mentioned, the people who did the trials bikes, they did a fantastic job. And they had 2 trials bikes, and then they had here's the trials bikes. And they had kind of a little MX bike or something, like a little motocross bike.
Yeah.
And they were teaching log crossings and kind of weight distribution over. And I think most people who've been off road have been on a trials bike once or twice if they're not big into trials. So getting on a trials bike is just such a refreshing thing because it's like a combination of mountain bike. You can wheelie the thing. It's so liberating, and you get a lot more confidence. So when you're back on your other bike, you're like, "Ooh, I can try this now." I think it's a nice element to the event.
Those guys are fantastic. I do a lot of events with them locally. Anyway, I'm a big trials enthusiast. I ride an old-fashioned bike, but you still get in amongst the trees and realise that there's not enough space to do the things you think you can do. But what we like the idea of, I spoke to Matt and the guys at the Trials Club and just said, look, we all love bikes, and you've already mentioned the Grom. We're now talking about the Trials bikes, the Himalayan. Like, there's something lovely about going, oh man, I'm getting 3 or 4 bikes I never get to ride today.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this and do. And some people have only ever rid the bike they own, and it's nice to go, oh, I see. So a smaller bike allows me to do this, or a Himalayan allows me to do this, or a Grom allows me to do this. And, there's a lot of diverse machinery out there. This hill climb you're showing. But this was a bit of a last minute Malay rip-off, I must admit. It
was awesome.
But yeah, that was
someone spun out. I don't know if I got him on video, but someone did a proper 360 on it because he was just tearing around those bales.
There was a few eye openers, yeah, for sure. A couple of people took some spin outs, but I've got a photograph somewhere. I really tried to find it to send to you. This is you, right?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the jacket. Yeah, but there was a chap on a Z900 or a Z1000 Kawasaki Classic, that like you'd go over and look at a bike night, and he came full send, like sideways around the last 8 hour, and it was like, geez, he held it, managed. He had slick tires and stuff, and it was really nice to actually have the concept kind of confirmed like that. Like, his bike wasn't fit for purpose, the tires weren't fit for purpose, and there he was like partaking because, one, he had the skill, and two, we provided the platform so as people can do it at their level, I guess, their ability.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and this is another question from Jonathan. I really appreciate Jonathan's participation tonight. But he's saying, I guess, I don't know where he saw the points, but he said, why did everyone get the same rating of 15 on the off-road challenge? Was a participation award, they get all the same. And I think that's the thing. Because we're going, so on the day, we had a little kind of on the Saturday, we had a little passport, and we went around and got things ticked off if we gave it a try. Yep. And it was that participation that gave us a leg up. And I think if we did, I forget what it was, but we got kind of a seat, a staging or a pole position for the next morning based upon how many participation points we got from the Saturday. That made you, sorry, maybe you can explain it.
Day 1 and day 2 are very much a similar thing, in as much as, yes, I give you the opportunity to choose whether you want to do a challenge or not. I don't want anybody to feel pressured. I don't want anybody to feel pushed into anything.
Yeah.
However, you open up your logbook and it says, well, if you do the off-road challenge, you'll get 15 points.
Yeah.
If you don't, you won't get 15 points. You might get 5 just for attending the location but not partaking. So the more you do, the more points you earn. The same applies for, if you dress up, there's points available for costume. If you dress your bike up, there's points available for making an effort. If you own a military machine, which I don't expect anybody to and buy one for the event, but again, you've got a leg up when you arrive. And that's very much the kind of concept. Is most of the challenges and most of the kind of elements of the event are a single appointed amount of points for each of the challenges. And then I think on the Saturday or the training day, whichever day that falls on, the hill climb that you were showing, people's time for that hill climb was what gave you the allocation, the kind of your starting point, because that actually gave us something we could reference against each rider. So
interesting.
It was almost qualifying today. And then on the Sunday, the shooting is very much, you can get lots of points or no points depending if you're any good at that.
Yeah.
So that spreads the field a little bit. And then this, what you're showing now, the reconnaissance challenge, going out and looking for the phone boxes, that's the difference between winning and losing. If you can get them all, then the rest of the challenges just get you ahead of the field, and then it's down to how many shots you missed. If you miss some of the phone boxes, there's people now, Ian Fitzgerald that you talked about, and a couple of other riders that they just love going out with these maps and finding these things, and therefore they're coming back with all of them. I think year one we did like 21, year two we did like 28, and I think the year you came we did something like 33.
Yeah, it was like 33 or something. There was a lot of phone booths.
Yeah, we always expected that nobody would get them all on the year you came, and it's still, people turn up at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, they've done everything, and you're like, okay, so that needs to have some more thought, I think. And
what's funny is Fanny and I were running late. Like on the screen here, you could see the shooting grounds here near a blue phone booth. And when we were doing it, I really wanted to get, because it's been ages since I've done skeet shooting, and I really wanted to get over to do that. And then the off-roading was way on the other side of the map, and I didn't know if we had enough time to do it, but we opted that we would try it just to get the points, because we had started so late that we knew we weren't getting like the gold phone booths. Here's the point books here, and it was just, it was like 36. It looks like 36 of them.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so this is so we got there late, and we ran inside to get our map and everything, and then Fanny was waiting on the bike, and I saw a tea room, and we had left so early and had like a 2-hour ride from London, and I was like, I know we're late, but they got this great tea room, and we ended up having this Dorset apple cake, which is like award-winning cake for them, and we spent like a half an hour having cake and coffee, and so we were even later getting out onto the bike, which is why the off-road section was such a good addition to getting some points out of the deal.
As much as part of the day as everything else you did. For you, that's a big part of your memory now of the Despatch Rally. And there's a couple that come. They've been coming since the first year. They come every year. They got no intention of winning. They no longer do the off-road stage. They did it the first time they came to see what they thought. And they were like, okay, don't that's not for us. It's not for our bike. We're not doing it again. Every year they go out looking for the phone boxes, and as soon as a pub distracts them and they find somewhere nice to have lunch and settle and, have an enjoyable meal together, that's part of their day. Yeah. And they've had a phenomenal time. They're not even anywhere near going to be in the running for, the top spot, but that's not why they're there.
Yeah. Well, there are some lovely pubs along the way that if we didn't stop for cake, we definitely would have stopped at one of the pubs. But, it was great, too, because, is this year going to be done around the same area, same fields and things, and Sammy Miller, or are you gonna, what are your plans for this year?
So Sammy Miller is involved, and the same style of areas and things that you've seen in past events will be utilised in some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
Up until Monday, I had a really firm set idea of event venues, placements, and how things would run. I think anybody who bought their tickets last year, and I'd like to take actually 2 seconds to thank everybody for sticking with it. I know a lot of people bought tickets for 2020 and it fell through, which was devastating, and it would have financially crippled any hope of ever doing the event again if I'd have had to reimburse everybody, because by that point, we'd spent out.
You'd invested the money,
in PR and various things that we couldn't get back. And I think like 99% of people just said, yeah, look, we'll stick with it. We'd love to come, in a subsequent year, and it's allowed us to at least carry forward some hope for this year, and it's going to allow us to make it happen. So that's a massive, massive thank you from me for everyone's understanding on that. But yeah, like I say, Boris changed. Well, it didn't change anything, but the announcement about COVID and the roadmap and our route out of lockdown gave me a sort of choice to make, I guess, whether to run an event. And I'd heavily concepted how the Dispatch Rally could take place regardless of lockdown circumstances, like in a hope that the absolute worst case scenario would be maybe the group of 6 rule, and that we'd be allowed some freedoms. I was going to mail everybody's maps and logbooks to them, swallow up the cost of a few stamps in order to mean that no one had to sit and give the books out. There didn't have to be any interaction. There didn't have to be any of that congregation, and we could still have an event. But after the restrictions were revealed on Monday, it seemed like the clear choice that we wanted to run a 3-day event. We had a bank holiday at the beginning of May, but we also had another one at the end. And Sammy Millers was still able to support the event on that occasion. And I figured we'd move it that way, and that means all of the kind of improvements that I wanted to make for the event, like the film night and hopefully getting some live music and the camping that we all love, that allows you a bit more downtime and a bit more enjoyment from your commitment of attending, would all be kind of repaid, and hopefully mean that when we all get our freedom back, we can have an event that will give us a chance to really appreciate one another again and get together for something special. So yeah, I've only had 2 or 3 days of fully thinking about how it's going to unfold, and where. There's a few really exciting things on the table because of that, and there's a few things that are slightly depressing and a bit of a shame. We won't be able to be at the same farm we were at before with Mark, and the grounds you showed earlier in the discussion. But we'll find something. We're not short of beautiful places here in sort of the south and in Dorset especially, and luckily for me, I'm surrounded by fabulous people, great friends. Everybody's got acquaintances. Everybody knows somebody that knows somebody, and yeah, we'll get it done. I'm hoping it will be the biggest and the best it's ever been.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I think we've gotten some comments about wanting to expand to the U.S. and putting some U.S. events together. So maybe that could be a discussion we have in the future when the world allows international. Well, maybe not the world. When the UK allows international travel. We were talking before we went live how we've been watching the rest of the world and thinking that we're in some alternate reality because people are at festivals and they're going through farmers markets, they're going skiing, and we can't leave the house under penalty of law. So I think the notion of just getting on your bike and looking at a map and being with like-minded people and having no pressure, I think that's something that I think for a lot of people, the people who've already signed up to Dispatch Rally have been waiting for the one to happen because the last one was canceled, and hopefully some new people are seeing this tonight and will sign up. I think this will be one of the kind of jewels on the horizon that they're going to be looking at for the end of lockdown or when things ease, where there's something to look forward to. Because I don't think anyone's going to a festival, but we'll definitely go to an event like this and wave at people on bikes and enjoy the camaraderie and the spectacle of it. And I'm definitely going to the surplus. I have a good surplus near me, so I'm definitely going.
That's on your radar for this year. I was just watching the video actually, and like, it's quite funny. A lot of people see having a pillion as, oh, there's a real, a negative. I've got extra weight and there's 2 people.
Yeah.
But you can be reading the map, deciding where you're going next. Your pillion's off the bike. She's filling in a logbook, doing the scores. You've already planned the next move. You've got somebody to discuss with and somebody to enjoy the day with. And actually, it's surprising how the overall level of the riders that come with a passenger compared to the overall level of the solo riders, there's only a few solo riders that under their own steam, doing everything themselves, the map reading and the logbooks and the filling in your scores and everything else, that get a very, very high score. And actually the average scores across the riders with pillion passengers is a much higher average, and you get more from this, which is what I would consider the key element for gathering points. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, this year Fanny's got her Indian, so we're still going to be riding kind of parallel with one another, but I'd probably be the guy jumping off the bike and getting both marks while she sits and looks at the map on the tank. But I think I really enjoyed the whole pillion ride aspect of it because, like you said, there's some strategy. She had the map on my back and kind of was like, using my back as a desk, and we were kind of trying to figure out. It was right here, actually, at this point of the video, where we were really cooking, and we were like, we finally got how this works out, and we had seen some other riders go by, but it was so late in the day that I was just right here as I came around this turn. I'm thinking, man, if we didn't have that tea, we could probably get at least 3 more boxes in.
Well, it's again as well with yourself. Like, you probably did more miles than anybody that weekend because you went to and from London.
Yeah, I did four runs to London.
Yeah,
twice back and forth on it. It's just with the kids at the ages they were, we couldn't both. I wanted Fanny to be involved for the Sunday, but we couldn't get the kids down and entertain them while we were out on the bike. So it was. But I think this year they're old enough that we can sneak away for the weekend and we can camp.
We are, as we're getting camping and things like that coming on board, we've tried to be really vigilant of also bringing in some elements that allow some space for friends and family and pets and whatever else, but also a little bit of option for some playtime. Some of, as you mentioned, the grenade toss and various elements of that Saturday training day want to be a little bit more generic, and therefore invite your nearest and dearest to kind of get involved a bit rather than the fear of attending through not being a biker and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think there were a lot of just to not to leave Paul hanging. Yeah, I will be there, Paul. With bells on. Well, now I have to wear bells, but with bells on, I will be there. Yeah, I've been waiting a long time for this to come around. Yeah, I think there were a couple people there on the Saturday who were pillion riders, wives or girlfriends, and they didn't ride, but they were getting on the trials bikes and they were getting on the Himalayan particularly. And I forget who it was, but I was speaking with one of the women, and she was a bit nervous to try the Himalayan because she thought it was such a quote unquote big bike. And then she got off it and was like, maybe I could buy one of these. And so I think just that those little tasters of those little experiences was beneficial to people who would have been otherwise put off by a biker event, like a big kind of biker event.
Yeah.
And and also here in Britain, you don't get a lot of occasion to shoot a gun. So the people who were running the shooting range, they were very professional, and people who waited very patiently. Some people waited a long time for it, but it was worth. When we pulled, this is us pulling into the shooting range now. When we pulled in, we saw the line and we're like, how many phone boxes is this costing us? And we just decided that it was better to wait and have a go than to go off and tick, because this was one of the few opportunities where you were actually in the same vicinity with a lot of the other riders, and so you got a little bit of a catch up. This is Fanny shooting; she did really well. we got a little bit of a catch up with how the other riders were doing and how their day was going. Because, when you're going pretty far afield, you're thinking, I haven't seen another rider for a while. Am I doing it right? But it's, it was a good little kind of respite to get to.
What you say about other riders, we always try to get footage of the off-road stage because it's really dramatic. It's like exciting to watch retrospectively. And I think I got to the off-road stage at 11:15 this year, and I sat there until 2:20 before anybody came through, because most people went there first or go there last, and then they go off and do the phone boxes and they shoot and they do the control stage, and then they swing back through on their return journey. And we were just sitting in the woods, just like, what? Is anybody doing my event? I've done it 2 years running now, and it's like, I always want to get there, but I've got to pack up and set up and sort of sign everybody away at the get-go.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to get there before I do.
We got there. This is the last thing we did. And I think it was your mom who signed our book. And she said, "You better hurry." Because and I think I don't know how far it was. I think it was like 8 miles or something, maybe, from Sammy Miller, and I was gunning it. Is this? I think this is this checkpoint.
Yeah, you're coming up on the
yeah.
Like that.
She was like, I didn't know anyone else was coming.
Well,
she's like, "You better hurry."
Get all that score stuff back out.
Yeah, exactly. She had packed up. She was ready to go.
We haven't mentioned, have we, that there's a curfew time deadline.
Oh, that's right. We should mention that. Yeah.
That again, it's not there to penalise anybody per se. It's not there to be nasty, but to try and keep the event as authentic as possible, and give it that tie-in and make it a bit more sort of physical and visceral. Like, we hand out pens and pencils. All the logbooks are done with stamps and crayons and pens.
Yeah.
We don't want it to be, here's a tracker,
digital. Yeah, exactly.
GPS to send you around and tell you where you've been. And I guess that then has a knock-on that my team has to tot up the scores in that hour and a half that you're back at HQ waiting on the prize giving by hand. They've got to work all those numbers out. They've got calculators and stuff, but they've still got to count through everything. There's no spreadsheet. There's no digital kind of whatever it would be, Excel kind of thing.
Well, I think that's important, though, because that time back at, this is, again, like I said, you have very few opportunities for, the park ups, look at the bikes, and those chats that you have at other events, which are all about the chat and the park up.
Yeah, and appreciating everyone else, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing about it is you have an opportunity, but you actually have something to talk about then at the end.
Yeah.
What in the middle, if you hit the shooting range in the middle, you're talking about how your morning went. And when you get there while the scores are being tallied at the end, you're talking about everything that happened throughout the day, and everyone has something different that happened, and it makes it, but everything is linked, so it's not just talking about your thing and someone waiting their turn to tell you their thing. They're telling you their thing that was kind of like your story, but the horse ran in front of me and I had to swerve onto the verge. So it was all this. Oh, I remember seeing you at that phone booth. Did you ever make it over to there? And so it was. It makes it more. I keep coming back to the word. There's this camaraderie to it that, like I said, other events just don't have, and I think that's. My
favorite thing with it, and I didn't realize it was my favorite thing until the end of the first year. But the curfew thing means that you've got to be back at a certain time, and it makes time management another element of the challenge. It's not really anything we ever reference, but if you don't think about how your day falls together and you miss that deadline, then those points you've spent all day gathering may well disappear. And if you miss the second deadline, we're not even going to count your points. And as harsh as that sounds, it's like, well, I'm now 20 minutes away from giving out the prizes. Like,
Yeah.
can't be expected, to kind of rank you in with everyone else. But
Yeah.
the real favourite thing for me is, I used to run a lot of rides. I used to go Follow Me, and as you said yourself, I now guide for Superior Motorcycle Experiences, and I show people around all day. And that's fantastic, and you might achieve something new, and you might go somewhere new, and you might explore. However, there's no ownership. You feel like I held your hand and took you out somewhere.
Yeah.
But what happens with the maps and the phone boxes is people roll back into HQ and they go, "Oh my God, James, I found this road, and it like went up this hill and like over this view, and oh my God, and then there was this horse," and I'm like, "Yeah, I found it too. Like I did 3 days to lay out the event, but they found it. I didn't take them there. I didn't show them." It gives you this real ownership of, oh my God, I went on an adventure today, because I had a few bits of paper, and then you take yourself. And the day is your own. If you want to add a pub into it and stop for a lovely lunch, great. If you want to start with coffee and cake, that works too. If you want to hang out with your friends and go in a group of 3 and 4 and do it all in a kind of posse, that's fine. And if you want to be Ian Fitzgerald and just dust cloud past everybody else to get as maximum points as possible, then there's his enjoyment value, So all kind of got something we can take away from it. But what's nice is you establish that. I provide the platform, and my team make it doable, and then the riders go, "Here I am. Who do I want to be?" And off you go, and left and right is down to you.
Yeah. No, I think that's where the strength of the event comes in, James. I think it's a really good event. I think you have a good team. You got a great part of the country and world to do it in. And you got a good attitude about it because you're inclusive, and the people can be as immersed in the experience or as casual in the experience as they want, and they'll still, like you said, they'll still get something really good out of it. And I mean, you got people looking forward to it. As soon as it was over, they're looking forward to the next one. And if they were at the last one, they're talking about the last one while they're doing the one they're in. So there's something really special about the event, and I hope. I mean, is there a maximum number of people that you have? Like, do you have a maximum number of participants, or do you have a requirement for that, or is
we've got no maximum numbers per se, because we would be absolutely, loving life and living on a win if we were anywhere near the maximum numbers of tickets we start out to sell, or the maximum number of people we're allowed within our insurance. But really, we just want to carry on responding to the audience. So it was 50 odd people, 70 odd people. It's grown organically through word of mouth and through people's enjoyment and through continued commitment from me and the team. And I guess the bigger it gets, the better for everyone. We might have to end up giving out different venue maps and sending people to different places, or putting on extra venues and spaces, but I don't mind more work if it means more people having a great time. It's as long as people continue to enjoy it, we'll continue to do it.
And how if people are getting some people who said they want to participate in the comments, what can they do to sign up? Where do they have to go to sign up?
Really, the best thing is just head to the website. That gives you as much information as we currently know. And then,
can you remind us of the website?
It's www.dispatchrally.co.uk, and that's dispatch with an E. There are 2 spellings, DIS and DES, and it's funny, there's no definitive agreement on which one is correct online and like which one you should use, and they don't mean different things. It's not like one is this and one is that. But we do have a chap named John who attends. He's come for the last 2 years, who is this fantastic, like 80-odd-year-old guy who flew Spitfires and like did all this stuff in the war, and has got all his original pictures of him, and like brings his little dispatch badges and wears like various things that he can explain to you their meaning. And I'm just in awe. I didn't know anything about it. And
How does he spell it?
He said the way we always saw it is we were dispatch riders with an E,
Yeah.
and we delivered dispatches with an R.
With an I, okay.
Okay. That still doesn't really make any sense.
That's very British.
It's the only thing anybody's said to me that I've kind of harped and clung to, because I thought it was just really cool of this chap to kind of lay it out like that. But he loved it. He loves to see, he comes to Sammy Miller's, and Sammy's got the bikes there that he rode in the war, and he's looking at all these people who are finding pleasure in heritage. He laid down,
Yeah.
So, it's been pretty phenomenal when these things have happened.
Oh, cool. Well, James, I really appreciate your time tonight. I hope we can get a good number of people out. Even if we get the same number of people who went to the one I went, it's going to be a fantastic event, and I'm really looking forward to what you have in store for us.
Well, like you said yourself, if we can both get out of our kitchens, even just the two of us, would be a pleasure right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
we're looking forward to it.
We're going to push real hard. We now know our guidelines and what we can do.
Yeah.
And it's going to be everything it's ever been, and hopefully as much as creation as we can chuck at it.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to it. James, I really appreciate it.
Thanks for setting it up.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate everyone who watched and participated in the comments, and I hope some of you who are local to the UK will definitely sign up and participate, because it's an excellent event. And with that, I think we'll sign off. Okay, James?
Yeah, thanks so much, Dick. It's great to talk about it, and it's great that you're doing what you're doing to pass it on to other people. But I really appreciate actually just hearing your feedback and knowing how much you've enjoyed it. It's that means a lot to me. So thank you.
Yeah, everything I've done that you've put on, I've really enjoyed. So I'm looking forward to whatever other ideas you have in store, because with SME and the Dispatch Rally, it's you're 2 for 2. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of each other. All right, appreciate it, James.
Thanks, man.
All right, bye-bye.